Hi, this is the YoYoTricks.com Sage. If you've ever wanted to get into like the real yo-yo stuff, this is probably like your baseline good yo-yo. Especially for string tricks because, of course, as you can see, it is a butterfly. I would say that this is, no, never mind. I was going to say this is my first real professional yo-yo that I got, but not technically true. We'll get to that in a later episode. The Sage is excellent. I'm going to put that out there right now. This is a good product. I have two of them. This one is red, and the other one is like a special edition autumn color. But, you know what, let me get out the other one, because I do bring up one small issue with this. The Sage is made of plastic. That's not an issue on its own. But for me personally, when I used it for the first time, the red one, let me take this apart so I can show you what I'm talking about. This is such a hard thing to explain to people. So, similar to the Oracle, the Sage comes with a ball bearing inside. So it has longer spin times. As you can see, there is the ball bearing. And there is another like spacer ring on the inside. This is going to be so hard to show on camera, but let me try. There is like, you see this circle, and then deeper inside there is another slightly smaller circle that like goes around the edge of this one. That broke. Part of that broke off while I was doing something. I believe I tightened it too hard, which, you know, that's my fault. But ever since, it has not worked as well. And I think that that's just because it's made of plastic, and the ball bearing like rubs up against the inside now because it's not spaced with the spacer. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work the way that it used to. And so I had to start using the orange one instead, which I do like orange quite a bit, but I'm just not a big fan of how that one looks in comparison to this. I cannot get this string back on. I'm just not going to worry about the red one. Let me demonstrate with the orange one, which has a counterweight on it, so I need to remove that. Give me 1 second. All right, there we go. So now I have this with just the base string on it, and allow me to demonstrate how it works. So now I get to show you my actual cool tricks, because so far I've only shown you like mediocre looping and sleep stuff. Voila! So yeah, it's pretty good. This was the first thing that I like actually learned stuff with. And as you can see, it has not a very, it does not respond at all when it's down, which is good. You know, you need unresponsiveness whenever you're doing string stuff, or else it snaps back up whenever you don't want it to, which is not great. Shit. But that also means that it has a higher skill ceiling, or skill floor, because you need to know how to bind to get it back up normally. Sometimes it can like come up like that, but most of the time you're going to need to bind it. So, yeah, that's the Sage. It's really good. It is very, very good. It does hurt. Don't get it twisted. This thing, even though it is made of plastic, it does hurt whenever you like miss a grab or hit yourself with it, but it doesn't hurt nearly as bad as metal does, so come back to me. Okay, fine. Now, the red one, I need to show this again, came stock with a thinner bearing with no dip in the middle, so that made it more responsive, alongside the fact that it does have larger response pads. Response pads, if you don't know, I realized this after recording that first episode. Most people watching these probably don't know that much about yo-yos, so I'll need to explain a little bit more. Response pads are little things put inside of usually butterflies, but Sometimes it can be in stuff like the Oracle, which I showed before. They make it so that the string has something to grab onto whenever you pull it back up. It's not usually in cheaper stuff, but for stuff with ball bearings, it's vital. So those risen up response pads, those are useful because then you can just pull up and it comes back. However, the orange one, which is the one that I use more often, has sunken in response pads. So they're still there, but it takes a lot more doing. It requires a bind, basically. This is basically the bare minimum you need to get the yo-yo back up. If you don't have these, it's basically never going to come back up. Which can be good sometimes, but you're going to need to pull it back up eventually. So you usually want to run response pads. That's my point. Oh, one more thing. I showed that this one has a thinner bearing. This one has a larger one, which has like a dip in the middle so that it doesn't waver into the response pads. Does that make sense? Here, let me get a side-by-side comparison. So, here's the red one. You see how narrow it is and how the response pads come out compared to the orange one, which is a lot wider and the response pads are more sunken in. And it also has a little divot in the middle of the bearing. That makes it so that it sleeps longer, which is good for string tricks. For looping, not so much, but you can make it work. Let me demonstrate with the red one. Ow, oh god, this string hurts. This blue one, it really digs in. I really need to find my yo-yo glove. Okay, check it out. It loops a lot more, it loops a lot better than the orange one would, trust me. Because it actually like comes back. But it also has that ball bearing at the end, so it does sleep at the end, which kind of sucks. It's not really good for looping, but it'll get the job done if it's all you have, you know? And again, like I said in the Oracle video, I'm not that great at looping, so I'm sure somebody with a lot more experience in this field could do it a lot better than I could. But that's the point. Oh god, this string hurts. I really gotta find that glove. Overall, I would say that I give the orange one, the sleeper, more of a 9 out of 10. It's excellent, it is great. It has one big flaw that could potentially set it back, but it hasn't broken yet, so we're good. And then the red one, I'm gonna give more of a 7 out of 10. It is definitely good, but it doesn't really know what it wants to be. It's a little bit confused because it's trying to be looping with the response pads and the smaller bearing, but it doesn't really do string tricks or looping that well. So I'm gonna give it more of an 8. No, I meant to say 7, but that is also partially my fault because I broke it and also I modified it so that it is more geared towards that stuff, so that is my fault. Don't take my word for it. Try it yourself. That's going to be all for today. Bye.